I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Michael, the Count Bisping. We've got Den of Thieves 2 coming up. It's just around the corner. And in purposes of preparing myself for this interview, I watched the first film earlier today and I was waiting the whole way through. And then right at the end, there you are. You pop up in the bar in London. So set the scene for me going into this second film.
Well, first of all good things come to those who wait, you know. Yeah, listen, obviously, it's only a very, very small part. I'm a part in this one. It's bigger than this, but it's not a gigantic part. But to be a part of the Den of Thieves franchise for me is incredible because the first film's brilliant. I'm sure you'll agree. It really is a good film. And this one's going to be even better. I remember at the time, Christian Gudekas, he's the director and the writer. He's a big mixed martial arts fan. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Hicks and Gracie. And he reached out to me to have a part in it. And then obviously I set up the sequel. And I was always kind of worried that the sequel wouldn't get made. But of course it did. We shot it in Tenerife when was it, last year? Had a great experience working with Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson. Of course, everyone else on the cast made a lot of great friends. And yeah, you'll see in the first one, I work as a security guard at a Diamond's place, and O'Shea Jackson's like, oh, at the Diamond place. And then, of course, you can figure it out what happens from there. So there's a massive, massive heist. It's based on a true story. When we were filming in Tenerife, they actually had some people involved with the investigation to the first story, sit us all down in the movie theater and walk us through it, how the investigation went down, just so we all understood the kind of gravity of the situation and what a big deal this was, and just to give us like some kind of inside knowledge and reality of the actual situation which happened. So it was very meticulously filmed, as I said, based on a true story. Incredible action, incredible story, and some pretty good performances from me included. Let's go.
Well, as you mentioned there, it's an all-star cast. There's some truly brilliant actors. You got Gerard Butler, you got O'Shea Jackson Jr. I know 50 Cent was in the first one. We lost him, unfortunately, along the way, but we've got obviously great stars. So talk to me about acting alongside these massive hits of the industry.
Yeah, for me, like, I never thought I'd be sitting there talking about acting. I'm from Clitheroe. I know you're from Preston, just down the road. I'm just a working class northern lad. But when these opportunities kind of come your way, you take advantage of them. So I first got offered a movie role in 2009. And then I really enjoyed it. I did a pretty good job. I got a part in Hollyoaks. Uh, Shortly after that, there's a blast from the past, and then moved out to California. I'm very close to Los Angeles. Got myself an agent and started chipping away at it like that, and then slowly but surely over the years continued to work on my craft, as they say. Continue the training and getting little parts and roles and here and there. But I never get carried away with it. I still realize where I am in the world, where what I'm capable of, and who I am. I haven't ran off with it. This is something that I am passionate about, that I want to do more of, that I thoroughly enjoy, and I really do take it seriously. But also, as I say, I take it with a pinch of salt. So when I'm on there working with people like that, and I've worked with people like Vin Diesel in the past, it's kind of crazy, but it's something I'm very proud of, but they're just human beings at the end of the day as well. So you kind of look at it like that. They put their pants on at the same time, but you're always trying to learn, and watching people and learning from people, because I'm an absolute novice. But yeah, it's an incredible experience. And as I say, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about this shit. Makes me sound like I think my shit don't stink.
I mean, you mentioned that you've been in Hollyoaks, you've been in Triple X, obviously Den of Thieves now as well. Who is your favourite character you've ever played?
Favorite character I ever played. Do you know what? So I've got another one coming out soon called Red Sonja. That would probably be because it's my biggest role, and in that I show a lot of range. I'm not giving anything up, but I might break down in tears and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, this one in Den of Thieves, because that's what we're here to talk about. A great intense role. I don't know what I can and can't say, so I don't want to say too much, but it's true to a Michael Bisping kind of performance. But yeah, in Red Sonja, that'd probably be my biggest one yet. So that just gave me a little bit more fun. I could be myself, and got to show a bit more acting and stuff. But I always like the stuff that I can use my skills. I mean, obviously I'm a martial artist. I've done that since I was 8 years old. So being able to fight on screen and help with the choreography and do action, which is what I'm suited to. Yeah, I absolutely love it. You know, my wife often says to me, "Why do I do this?" You know, because I've done very well through the UFC. You know, I had a fantastic career, so I've got a good career outside of fighting with broadcasting and stuff like that. But I loved it. I enjoy this. I'm passionate about it. You know, being able to fly off to another country, immerse myself into a completely new character, meet new people. It's challenging, it's stimulating, and it's something I enjoy. And the roles I do are always kind of fun. You know, I'm running around with a gun, I'm beating people up, I'm using the skills that I've acquired over years. You know, so why wouldn't I want to do that? You know, my wife probably just doesn't want me leaving town for 6 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever it is, which I understand. But for me personally, I still need these challenges in life.
Yeah, you've been in so many great films in your acting career. What do you think is your craziest behind the scenes story that you've ever had?
Craziest behind the scenes story. So, years ago, when I first started, I did a movie with Noel Clarke called
Right, okay.
Plastic. Yeah. And we had this scene, and I play like a Russian pimp. Something, I think I was a pimp. Yeah, I was a Russian pimp. And Noel Clarke, he's the writer, he's the director, and he's the star of the film as well. And he comes in and we've got a fight scene and we rehearsed it a bunch of times. All we had to do, he throws a punch at me, I kind of deflect the punch, woof, one right hook, I knock him out, right? We did it in slow motion. We did it in slow motion. We rehearsed it about 20 times, but this was just after I'd done my eye. And I was still getting used to the depth perception, you know, now I'm used to it. But back then I wasn't. And I wanted to make it look real on camera. I'm not doing myself any favors by saying this. Anyway, so he throws, we do it to say action, the adrenaline's flowing. You know, anytime when you're doing things with guns as well, it's intense. 3, 2, 1, action. It's like, Pwah! I'm like, I'm in fight mode, you know, and he throws the punch, and I threw it, and ding, I bloody clocked him. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. And he went down, he's got an ice pack on his jaw and stuff. So yeah, we'll go with that one. Sorry, no.
Yeah, I hope that Noel has forgiven you for that one, but I imagine working with Noel
Yeah, it's a
must have
long
been
time ago.
working with Noel must have been
It's a
crazy.
long
You've
time ago.
mentioned Vin Diesel, all these other crazy actors. Have you ever been starstruck on set when you've seen someone?
Starstruck. I guess the closest I was Vin Diesel, but he's such a nice, warm guy that I got over that really quick. In fact, no, I wasn't starstruck. Um, I've never really been starstruck by actors. I don't think so. I'm trying to be genuinely honest. That's why I'm thinking about it. Like Gerard Butler in this one, you could not meet a nicer guy. Yeah, and I truly mean that. Like, I never did any scenes with him. Sadly, I would have loved to, but we got to hang out quite a few times, and we had dinner, and you know, just we were staying in the same hotel, so just bumping into him in the hotel and stuff. Just a warm, genuine, friendly, kind of normal guy. Obviously, he's wildly successful and a global superstar, but just a really nice, normal, still down to earth human being, and that was just lovely to see. And we shared some great dinners, and he gave me some great advice and stuff like that. Yeah, so like when they behave like that, when they're not acting kind of Hollywood, shall we say, you don't really get starstruck. And I'm not the type of guy that does that anyway. I'm 45 years old, being who I am in the UFC for as long as I have. You know, I remember when I first came out of Clitheroe and I met Wesley Snipes. I was starstruck then, you know what I mean? But I'd never met a celebrity before in my life. Now I'm kind of used to it. And I know that sounds like, you know, always changed. I haven't changed, but you kind of adapt to your environment. I remember the first UFC event the UFC flew me to. I think it might have been like UFC 56 or 7 or whatever it was. I'd just come off the Ultimate Fighter, so maybe it was a bit later. Anyway, I get a tap on the shoulder and I look round and it's Wesley Snipes. And he says, "How you doing, champ?" And I'm like, "You know who I am?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course. I watched you all the time on Ultimate Fighter." And I acted like such a dork. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm such a big fan." And he's like, "Oh my God, get away from this nerd." But yeah, that was a long, long time ago. So yeah, no, I don't really get starstruck these days.
I can imagine. And obviously, we've talked about all these amazing films and franchises you've been involved in. But I imagine growing up, you must have watched some great programs. I know you're a Sopranos, Breaking Bad type of guy. If you could inject yourself into any franchise and be like a star in it, what do you think you'd go for?
Jeez Louise, you put me on the spot there. All right, inject myself into any franchise. I mean, I love Sopranos, but I don't think an English guy would go down in Sopranos, and I do struggle with that accent. Um, Breaking Bad's another one. Oh, Game of Thrones. I
Yeah, you'd
was
be good at
da-
that.
I would have loved to have been on Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. If the director of House of the Dragon is watching this or the showrunner, I'm your boy. Put me in season 2. I will absolutely smash it. Funnily enough, on Triple X, I worked with the Hound from Game of Thrones, and he was a lovely guy as well. So, but yeah, Game of Thrones, that was a personal favorite, and House of the Dragon. So yeah, I'd have to say that one.
Yeah, Game of Thrones obviously would have been good. I disagree with you in a sense because I actually think you would have been tremendous on The Sopranos. You versus Tony Soprano, the toughest guy in
Ah,
Clitheroe, the toughest guy in New Jersey. How do you think that would have gone down?
yeah, 2016, I was the toughest guy on the planet, mate. Never mind little old Clitheroe. uh, uh, if we had to use a modern day Sopranos, the Penguin, did you watch that? What
I've
a
not
show
seen it. I've
that
been
was! I
told it's
absolutely
fantastic.
loved that. Mate, you got to watch the Penguin. It is brilliant, and he reminds me of Tony Soprano big time.
Absolutely. And now looking at the UFC, obviously you're good friends with Tom Aspinall, and he's our big British hope. He's obviously got the interim champion. What do you think of him and Jones? Because there's this side that people are arguing that maybe Jones is ducking that, and then there's another argument to say that Jones has pulled off a marketing masterpiece in terms of negotiations. So where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I was kind of frustrated by the things that Jon Jones was saying fight week when he fought Stipe, and I didn't understand it. Now looking back, I kind of agree. I think he played it like a genius, because it just made the desire and the demand for the fight even bigger. And along the way, playing some mind games with Tom. I don't think Jon Jones is the type of guy, when you've had the success that he has, when you've never been defeated, he's a large human being as well now, let's remember. And he's smoked everybody, right? He's not the type of guy that's afraid. Okay, he's not that guy. He's not afraid of Tom. I do believe that Tom would probably beat him in a fight, but I think the way that he played it was to drive demand, and I think it worked. Dana wants to put the fight on. Tom Aspinall said that Dana told him it's going to happen. I would guess that it goes down in 2025 this year. And I said, when Tom won one of his fights in London, I did a post-fight show on TNT Sports, and I was like, oh, Tom Aspinall would smoke Jon Jones. It wouldn't even be a fight. And maybe there was a little bit of recency bias there. It's not because I admire Tom. It's because of when I look at him and I see the skill set and I see the size and the agility and the power that he has. I think I'm not surprised he's now the interim champion, and I wouldn't be surprised if he beats John when they do fight. But seeing Jon Jones and what he did against Stipe, I now do realize it will be a tougher fight for Tom than what I initially imagined. I would still pick Tom to win, but you can't look at that fight against Stipe, even though he was 42 years old and perhaps slowed down a bit. The way that he beat him, the way that he picked him apart, the way that he used the game plan, the way that he always finds a way to win, swept him off his feet, demolished him on the ground, picked him apart, was so diverse in his attacks with the striking, and then finished him with a spinning back kick. I mean, it was a great performance, and Tom's never fought anybody like that. So it'll be an interesting fight, and I just hope it happens, and I'm sure it will.
Absolutely. And we've obviously got UFC 311 as well coming up. Have you got predictions for the main and co-main events?
Not yet. I'm yet to do my study for it, so I do apologize. I will tell you this though. Islam Makhachev. I mean, this is a rematch, isn't it? Arman Tsarukyan, 6 years in the making for him. He took the fight on short notice the first time. He's improved leaps and bounds. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's grown into his body, if you will, so he's got a bit more man strength. Obviously, we always improve, but Islam's improved as well, and now he's the champion. As Teddy Atlas said, when you become the champion, you get 30% better overnight. But Arman came out this week and he said, and I was talking about this on my YouTube channel, and I don't know if he's messing around or maybe I misunderstood it, but he said that he's not fully invested in MMA. And I'm just kind of curious about that statement. He said we're going to get to see if somebody that's not fully invested in MMA can become the champion. I don't know what he meant by that, because you got to be invested in this. Islam Makhachev is for sure invested. He lives and breathes this sport. This is not a sport that you can pick up and put down. Or maybe Tsarukyan's just that good. but he was also beaten by Mateusz Gamrot. So I don't know if he's trying to lay the pathway for a kind of an excuse. I don't know if that's a bit of subconscious doubt, or I don't know if he's just kind of making a flippant remark, which he didn't really mean. I guess we're going to find out. It's going to be a great fight.
And a question on your career. You mentioned before you weren't just the toughest guy in Clitheroe, you were the toughest guy in the world. An amazing
Let's go. Come on.
an amazing victory over Luke Rockwood. I can still remember watching that at like 5 in the morning. It was absolutely fantastic. But it all sort of happened because of a man who you were working with who told you that everybody has a talent and he advised you to pursue that talent and you followed that dream. I just wanted to
Yes.
know because I've heard you tell that story so many times and it's so inspiring. Did that guy go on? Did he see everything that you've done? Is you still in contact with that guy?
Yeah, no, he never said that everyone has a talent. That's what I've then later on interpreted
Okay.
it to, and I tell people because I do believe we are all good at something, but we've just got to figure out what that is, because when you go through the schooling system and whatnot, they're not helping you to try and find your talents. They're just trying to give you a basic education. And a lot of people don't know what to do, but we're all good at something. So we've got to figure out what that is. But I remember that guy, what he said to me, I was working in a factory, just another one of many, many factory jobs that I'd done. And he said to me, he said, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And I said, no, hell no. And he said, well, give it a thought, Michael, because before you know it, 20 years is going to pass. I walked through these doors 25 years ago and now I'm still here. He said, if you don't want to do the same thing, you're young and you've got to make it happen now. And that's when I started doing some soul searching. And that's when I started thinking about what am I good at? What are my skills? And I was always good at fighting. I did a lot of martial arts as a kid. Humbly, I won every single martial art tournament I ever entered. I won a lot of kickboxing fights as well. I'd won championships in kickboxing. And I was a scrapper. I must have had 150 street fights and won every single one of them. I knew there was something that I could do, and that was fighting. I thought, well, what am I good at? It's fighting. So let's try and make a career out of that. And that guy that told me that, I don't know. I assume that he did because people in the factory have reached out to me ever since. But he was kind of an older guy, Mick Colleen, and he was a lovely guy. And he wasn't meaning to mentor me, but he was a very, very good example on me, and I'm so glad that he put that in my head because I was very young and reckless, but it just goes to show that anyone can turn their life around, so if there's any young men or women out there that feel a little bit lost and don't know what to do with their lives, it's never too late to turn it around, make an impact and make something of yourself.
Yeah, that's a truly fantastic story, Michael. Thank you so much for giving me some time. It's been great to talk all about Den of Thieves, Hollyoaks, Knocking Out No Clark, even The Sopranos. It's all brilliant.
Let's go. Listen, James, it's a pleasure to talk to a fellow Northerner. You're from Preston, just down the road. Thank you very much. You're good at what you do as well. Den of Thieves 2. If anybody needs a good movie to watch, I am telling you, the first one was brilliant. The second one's even better. You get a little bit of me. If you love MMA, you get some Cyril Gahn, you get Rico Verhoeven, you get a few other fighters in there as well. But the movie is fantastic. So go out, check it out, see it. You'll love it.